In our today's lecture, we will cover internal genitalia, and previously we have discussed about the external genitalia and all the structures that basically are the part of external genitalia. So, the internal genitalia composed of the vagina, uterus, two uterine tubes, and two ovaries. And these all internal organs, these all are the internal organs of the female reproductive system, and they lie within the pelvic cavity. So our today's lecture is basically a bit complex, and it needs your full concentration. So the points that we will cover today are vagina, the structure of the vagina, in which we will cover the blood supply of the vagina as well, uterus, structure of the uterus, and we will cover blood supply and venous drainage of the uterus as well. So starting with the first diagram, that is basically showing the association of the structures that are basically present within the pelvic cavity. So this is a sagittal plane, and you already know about the sagittal plane. We have basically cut our body into two halves, and there will be definitely a right half and there will be a left half in a sagittal plane. So this is a sagittal section, and I am looking into the pelvic organs from side. So most interiorly, you can see from the appearance of this structure, this is a bone, and this is definitely be a pubic bone. Next, posterior to the bone, you can see this structure, that is bladder. So we concluded that the bladder is lying interiorly to the uterus. Behind the bladder, you can see this pear-shaped structure, that is the uterus, and you can see that the uterus is bended forward, or we can say that it is lying onto the bladder. So once again, starting from the most interior part, this structure here is the pubic bone, and posterior to it you can see that there is a structure that we are calling the bladder, and this is the urethral opening here that we discussed in our yesterday's lecture. We saw the urethral opening in the vestibule. Behind the bladder, this is the uterus, this is the uterus, this is the cervix, that is the part of the uterus, this is the vaginal canal, and this is the external vaginal orifice that also opens within the vestibule. Next, this is the roughly triangular shape area that we called perineum, and we know that this was the space or the area between the vestibule interiorly and the anus posteriorly. Then comes the rectum, and this will be the anus. So once again, we are basically trying to figure out the relations of all the pelvic structures that are lying within the pelvic cavity. So we first of all took a sagittal section, and we looked at all the organs and we saw their relations. So most interiorly, this is the bone, the pubic bone. Then we looked at the bladder that was lying behind this bone. Then behind the bladder, this is the uterus, and we looked at the different parts of the uterus. This dome shaped part of the uterus is called fundus, and we will look at the details of the uterus when we will discuss it in our coming slides. So just remember that this dome shaped part is the fundus of the uterus. This is the body of the uterus, the narrow part. This is the cervix, and this is the vagina. And here this is the external vaginal orifice that is opening within the vestibule. Next, we looked at the perineum, that we know is a roughly shaped, a triangular shaped area that lies between the vestibule anteriorly and the anus posteriorly. So far we concluded that the bladder, urinary bladder, is lying anterior to the uterus, and the uterus is lying posterior to the bladder. The uterus is lying anterior to the rectum, and these relations are really very important. And here you can see the coccyx, the sacrum, and the coccyx, which is also called the tailbone. So now we will look at the structure of the vagina. So the vaginal walls basically has 3 layers. It has an outer covering of areolar tissue, a middle layer of smooth muscles, and an inner lining of stratified squamous epithelium that basically forms the ridges or rugae. Here you can see these. So once again, we have 3 layers in the vagina, and these are the mucosa, muscularis, and the adventitia. So the mucosa is basically composed of, that is the inner lining, and this is basically composed of the stratified squamous epithelium that forms the ridges. Here you can appreciate the ridges, and this is the mucosa on the histology, and these ridges are formed by the epithelium. And just remember that it would not have any secretory glands, but the surface will be kept moist by the cervical secretions. Next, we talked about the muscularis, that is composed of smooth muscle, and the last is the adventitia, that is the outermost layer, and this is composed of the dense fibroelastic connective tissue or the areolar tissue. So another important point here to remember is that between the puberty and the menopause, there is a bacteria that secretes the lactic acid to maintain the pH of the vagina between the 4.5 and 3.5. And this acidity basically inhibits the growth of other microorganisms that can enter the vagina from the perineum and during the sexual intercourse. And the bacteria that basically maintains the acidity of the vagina is the Lactobacillus acidophilus. So this is the bacteria named Lactobacillus acidophilus that maintains the acidic pH of the vagina between 3.5 and 4.9 to inhibit the growth of other microorganisms that can enter during the sexual intercourse and from the perineum. So far we have talked about the relations of various pelvic organs, and we have discussed about the structure of the vagina as well. Another very important thing is that we will look at the various parts of the vagina as well. As I have told you about the epithelium of the vagina, that is lined with the stratified squamous epithelium. And another important point is that the vagina is fibromuscular tube. This is a tube you can see here. This is a tube that is composed of fibromuscular and it is lined with stratified squamous epithelium, and it has a distal end here, or the external vaginal orifice that is opening within the vestibule that we already know, and it has a proximal end as well, this one here. So this is the proximal end of the vagina, and this is the distal end of the vagina that is opening in the vestibule, and this external vaginal orifice will be covered with the hymen. Another important thing is this angle of the vagina. You can see that the vagina or the vaginal canal is not straight. This is more oblique. So it runs obliquely upwards and backwards. As you can see that this vaginal canal is running upwards and backwards obliquely, and it has an angle that is approximately 45 degrees between the bladder in front and the rectum and anus behind. Once again, we are already familiar with the external vaginal orifice that we discussed in the external genitalia. We know that the external vaginal orifice will open within the vestibule. Then we talked about this proximal end of the vagina as well, which is called the external os of the cervix, that we will discuss in coming slides. Just remember that the vaginal canal has an distal end that was opening in the vestibule, and it has a proximal end. Next, we talked about its structure, and we said that it is a fibromuscular tube that is lined with the stratified squamous epithelium, and the vaginal canal is not running straight. It has an angle that is approximately 45 degrees, and it is running obliquely. It is running obliquely upwards and backwards between the bladder anteriorly and the rectum and anus posteriorly. So this difference is basically due to the angle of insertion of the cervix through the interior wall. Another important thing to remember is that, as you can see, the length of the posterior vaginal wall, this is more than the interior vaginal wall. So the posterior vaginal wall is greater in length as compared to the interior vaginal wall. The interior vaginal wall is approximately 7.5 centimeter long, and the posterior wall is about 9 centimeter long in adults. Now we will discuss about the blood supply and the venous drainage of the vagina. And the arterial supply, it has an arterial plexus that is formed around the vagina, derived from the uterine and the vaginal arteries that are the branches of the internal iliac arteries. So the internal iliac artery has a uterine artery. These are the branches of the internal iliac: uterine artery, vaginal artery, the middle rectal artery, and the internal pudendal artery. So the uterine arteries and the vaginal arteries are going to supply the vagina, and they will form an arterial plexus around the vagina. The next is the venous drainage, and just like the arterial plexus, there is a venous plexus as well that you can see here. there is the vaginal venous plexus, and this vaginal venous plexus basically is situated in the muscular wall of the vagina, and it drains into the internal iliac veins. Next we have the lymph drainage, and that will be through the deep and superficial iliac glands. Now we will talk about the uterus, and this is very important structure, and by its shape it is a pear-shaped organ, and if we define it, then we will define the uterus as a hollow muscular pear-shaped organ that lies within the pelvic cavity between the urinary bladder and the rectum. So this is a coronal section, and we are looking at the uterus from the anterior aspect. And when we look at the uterus from the interior aspect, then we divide it into various parts, and this dome shaped part is basically called the fundus of the uterus. Then comes the uterine body, this narrow part here. This is the cervix. This opening here, that is the opening into the uterus, the cervical opening into the uterus, is called the internal os, and this opening here, the cervical opening into the vagina, is called the external os that I was talking about, and this is the proximal end of the vagina. Once again, when we look at the uterus in a coronal section from the interior aspect, then we are dividing the uterus into different parts. First of all, this dome shaped part is called the fundus of the uterus. This narrow part here is called the uterine body, and then there comes the cervix. This is also the part of the uterus, and cervix has two openings. It has an internal os and it has an external os. The internal os will be the cervical opening into the uterine body, and the external os is the cervical opening into the vagina. That will make the proximal end of the vagina. Then we will talk about the layers of the uterus as well. The outermost layer is the perimetrium, this one here. Then comes the myometrium, that is basically composed of muscle that causes the contraction of uterus during the labor and also during the menstruation. And next we have the endometrium, that goes through changes during the pregnancy and also during the menstruation. Now we will talk about some of the anatomical variants of the uterus. Normally the uterus lies in an anteverted, anti-flex position. Now, what is anteversion and anteflexion? This is very important. What I am saying is that the position of the uterus, I am telling you about the position of the uterus, and normally the uterus lies in an anteversion, anti-flex position. This is the normal position, and previously I have told you that normally the uterus is bended forward, or it points anteriorly towards the bladder. If the uterus is bended backwards, or it points towards the spine, or it points posteriorly, then this is an anatomical variant, and we call this position the retroverted uterus. And if uterus lies in the midline, then we call it the mid position uterus. So once again, I am telling you about the common position of the uterus, and then I talked about the anatomical variants of the uterus. So first of all, we will talk about the anteversion and anteflexion as well. Remember that anteversion is basically the angle between the vagina and the cervix. Once again, anteversion is the angle between the vagina and the cervix, and anteflexion is the angle between the cervix and the uterus. So here you can see there are two angles. The first angle is between the vagina and the cervix, and we call it the anteversion, and the other angle is between the cervix and the uterus, and we call it anteflexion. So the normal position of the uterus will be anteverted, anteflexed uterus, and it will point towards the bladder, or it will point towards the interior abdominal wall. If the vagina is retroflexed, or it points backwards or posteriorly towards the spine, then we call this position the retroverted position of the uterus. And in this case, the angle of the vagina and the cervix and the angle of the uterus and cervix both are changed. So this is a retroverted, retroflexed uterus. Then we talked about the mid position uterus as well, and it is lying in the mid position. That's why we are calling it the mid position uterus, and these are the normal variants. Another important thing is that when the body is in upright position, meaning when you are standing, then the uterus lies in an almost horizontal position. The uterus is about 7.5 centimeter long, 5 centimeter wide, and its walls are about 2.5 centimeter thick, and it weighs about 30 to 40 grams. Now we will discuss about the layers of the uterus in details. So as we have talked earlier, that there are total 3 layers of the uterus: the perimetrium, myometrium, and the endometrium. So first of all, we will talk about the perimetrium. So this is the perimetrium, and this lies over the fundus anteriorly, and also the body. Then it folds up onto the upper surface of the urinary bladder, and it forms a pouch that is called the vesico-uterine pouch. So this pouch, which is the vesico-uterine pouch, this is between the uterus and the urinary bladder, and it is formed when the perimetrium folded on to the upper surface of the urinary bladder. Posteriorly, this peritoneum covers the fundus, the body, and the cervix, and then it folds back onto the rectum, and it forms another pouch that is called the recto-uterine pouch, and this recto-uterine pouch is also called pouch of Douglas. So we will look at these pouches first of all, so that it gets clear to you. So we are now familiar with the relations of the various pelvic organs. We know that the bladder, urinary bladder, lies interior to the uterus, and the rectum lies posterior to the uterus. So when the perimetrium that is basically the peritoneum, it folds up onto the upper surface of the urinary bladder, and it covers the fundus and the body of the uterus. Then it forms a pouch that is called the vesico-uterine pouch. This is the vesico-uterine pouch that is formed due to the folding of the perimetrium. So here anteriorly between the urinary bladder and the uterus is formed a pouch that is called the vesico-uterine pouch. Behind or posteriorly there is another pouch formed that is between the uterus and the rectum. When the perimetrium covers or folds back onto the rectum, then it forms the recto-uterine pouch or pouch of Douglas. So these pouches are the spaces where the fluid can accumulate very easily. The blood can accumulate here, the debris can accumulate here. So it's very important that these pouches should be clear of any kind of fluid or debris, or else there can be the inflammation that is dangerous to the pelvic organs. Next we will talk about the myometrium. So the myometrium is basically composed of the smooth muscle fibers that will be interlaced with the areolar tissue, blood vessels and the nerves that we saw in the histology as well, but I guess that was a histology of vagina and not uterus. So just remember that the myometrium, as myo means muscles, so the myometrium will be composed of smooth muscle fibers. The last layer is the endometrium that goes through the changes during the pregnancy and in the menstruation. So this consists of columnar epithelium covering and a layer of the connective tissue that contains a large number of mucus secreting tubular glands. This will be supplied by the spiral arteries. These are the spiral arteries. So we will look at the blood supply as well. This is the uterine artery coming from the internal iliac artery, and यहाँ तक आपके पास जो लेयर बनती है, we call this layer the myometrium, and then comes the endometrial layer, and the endometrium has further the basal layer and the functional layer. So till the myometrium we have various branches of uterine artery. The uterine artery is dividing into the arcuate artery. This artery here is the arcuate artery. You do not have to remember the names of these branches. I am only telling you so that you do not get confused when you look at these branches. That's why I am telling you the names. So the uterine artery that was coming from the internal iliac, it will branch into the arcuate artery, and the arcuate artery will further divide, or we can say it will give off a branch that will be the radial artery, and then the radial artery will further divide into the spiral arteries, and these spiral arteries will supply the endometrium. मायोमेट्रियम तक आपके पास रेडियल आर्टरीज होती हैं जो कि सप्लाई करती हैं, एंड आफ्टर दैट द रेडियल आर्टरीज further divide into the spiral arteries, and these spiral arteries will supply the endometrium. So this is the perimetrium that we discussed, is basically the peritoneum, and then we discussed about the myometrium that we said is composed of the smooth muscles fibers, and those smooth muscle fibers will be interlaced with the areolar tissue and blood vessels. and the myometrium will be supplied by the radial arteries and the arcuate arteries, and after that we have the spiral arteries that will supply the endometrium. The endometrium is further divided into two layers, and this green zone here is the basal layer. This layer will remain same. This is the layer जो कि आपके पास menstruation के during change नहीं होगी, and it will remain the same, while the functional layer, that is another layer of the endometrium, this layer will go through the changes during the menstruation cycle. So this functional layer ये आपके पास menstruation में shed off होगी, and in the next cycle from the basal layer this functional layer will regenerate. So just remember that the functional layer is the upper layer, and it thickens and becomes rich in blood vessels in the first half of the menstruation period. And if the egg is not fertilized and it does not implant, then this layer will shed during the menstruation. And during the menstruation cycle definitely आपके पास जो functional layer है वो thin हो जाएगी. The basal layer that is lying next to the myometrium, it is not lost during the menstruation. Just remember that it will not go through any change during the menstruation, and this is the layer from which the new functional layer will regenerate during the next cycle. Another important point is about the cervical canal, that in the upper 2/3 of the cervical canal, this cervical canal will be lined with the mucous membrane, and in its lower part the mucosa will change and it will become the stratified squamous epithelium that will continue with the lining of the vagina.